Let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer on the August 4th, 2026 North Yarmouth Select Board meeting. We're going to break down exactly what happened last night so you get all the key facts directly from the source. Whether you've lived here for years or you're just trying to figure out how local decisions actually get made, we've got a structured recap of the most critical updates for you. So here's our agenda for the explainer. 1. Welcome new town manager. 2. Property taxes and revaluation. 3. Select board strategic goals. 4. Joint standing committee changes. And 5. Meeting votes and actions. Let's get right to it. Starting off with Section 1, Welcome new town manager. The meeting kicked off with a big official welcome for Britt, the newly hired town manager. And get this, she was incredibly only on her second full day on the job. But she didn't waste any time. She made her priorities crystal clear right out of the gate, noting she'd already toured the town facilities and even hopped in for a ride around with Fire Chief Payson to see the community up close. The select board members threw their full public support behind her open door policy, making sure she knows they've got her back. Britt really stressed her immediate goal, which is helping you, the residents, navigate town processes easily. Basically, if you got a question, Town Hall is ready to help or point you in the right direction. Moving right along to Section 2, Property Taxes and Revaluation. Now, let's talk about something that impacts literally every single property owner in North Yarmouth. It's the burning question on everyone's mind with tax commitments coming up this week. If the tax rate dropped 43%, why on earth might my bill still go up? So the town just wrapped up a statistical revaluation. The whole point of this isn't to squeeze more total tax revenue out of the town, but just to make sure every property is assessed fairly based on today's real estate market. It's all about making sure everyone pays their fair share of the existing tax levy. Here's the big number you need to know, 11.88. That's the new mill rate. The anticipated tax rate has actually plummeted from 20.71 per $10,000 last year all the way down to 11.88. That is a massive 43% drop. But, and this is a big but, because townwide property values were bumped up to reflect full market value, your specific tax bill depends entirely on how much your own home's value went up compared to the town average. If your property's value shot up more than the average, you might be paying a larger slice of the pie. If it went up less, you might actually see no change or maybe even a decrease. But hey, there's actually a pretty great silver lining for homeowners here. Because the town's assessments had previously dipped to about a 66% ratio of market value, the state's homestead exemption got shrunk down to around $16,500. Well, because the town is now back at 100% full market value thanks to this reevaluation, eligible homeowners get the full $25,000 main homestead exemption back. That is going to really help offset the tax burden for a lot of folks. Okay, Section 3, Select Board Strategic Goals. Keeping those taxes in mind, let's zoom out a bit and look at the Select Board's long-term vision for the upcoming fiscal years. Board members Paul, Andrea, and Mike brought their draft goals to the table, and we can basically boil their priorities down to a few unified themes. First, there's a huge shared focus on managing municipal costs. They're looking hard at the capital spending plan and exploring shared services, like teaming up on fire and rescue with neighboring towns like Cumberland and Yarmouth. They also really hammered home the need for better communication and resident engagement, plus finalizing major overarching documents like the comprehensive plan. Oh, and they want to make sure standard policies like getting a new town flag and setting a clear sign policy are properly drafted and rolled out. And here's a major driver behind all those financial goals. Over 70% of the town's property taxes go straight to the MSAD 51 school district. That is a massive chunk of the budget. Because it makes up the vast majority of the tax burden, board members were very vocal about wanting more local oversight and better communication regarding school spending. They're actively looking for ways to manage this rate of growth because it heavily impacts North Yarmouth taxpayers. Next up is Section 4, Joint Standing Committee Changes. That desire for better financial oversight actually transitions perfectly into some proposed structural changes with neighboring Cumberland. Chair Whitmarsh explained that after chatting with Cumberland's leadership, both sides really want to get back to regular, collaborative meetings. The new proposal? Have the entire North Yarmouth Select Board and the entire Cumberland Town Council act as the Joint Standing Committee. This means both full boards can sit down in the same room and tackle big issues together, like the rate of growth and shared school funding or managing shared regional assets like Knights Pond. And they do it all in fully transparent, public meetings. That collaborative spirit definitely carried over into the public comment periods. Residents were quick to praise the vital work done by volunteer committees, groups like the Parks Committee and the Shellfish Commission. There was also a good debate about how important it is to keep active select board liaisons attached to these groups. One resident pretty much hit the nail on the head, saying, "We want as wide an input on discussions and actions impacting the needs of our community." Volunteers do a ton of the heavy lifting for town assets, so keeping those lines of communication wide open between the select board and these committees is absolutely crucial to keeping projects on track.
Finally, Section 5, Meeting Votes and Actions.
So it's important to separate the ongoing policy discussions from the actual binding votes the board took during the specific meeting. The board unanimously passed their administrative consent agenda, 5-0, no debate needed. They also voted 5-0 to jump into an executive session to review applications for the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And last but not least, they voted 5-0 to approve a temporary congratulatory sign for Zach Johnston right in front of the community center for 1 month. They noted this is just a bridge solution until a broader official town sign and display policy is completely ironed out. And that wraps up our explainer for this meeting. As you can see, the Select Board is setting its sights on some major financial goals, potential regional consolidation, and some really critical policy updates. Your participation as a resident is honestly more important than ever right now. From shifts in your property taxes to how local parks are being managed, these decisions directly impact your daily life. So looking at the year ahead, with all these big discussions on the horizon, how are you going to make your voice heard? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and definitely stay tuned for our next deep dive into the local updates that matter most to you.